Number one, we're looking at the Bitcoin chart real quick here. And again, just when it comes to Bitcoin, Bitcoin continues to chop as we wait to hear whether or not this ETF will be approved, right? And again, what's interesting to me is that you've definitely exhausted the pre-buyers going into this, meaning that there was so much upside because everyone was so excited about that. Now you've gotten to a point where people are just sitting on the sidelines, not necessarily sitting on the sidelines, but essentially when you get this price action of sideways chop, it's telling you that there's an equal amount of buyers and sellers. So at a certain point here, you have some people saying, hey, listen, price has run up dramatically. I'm going to take some profits. And then you have other people saying, no, I think it's going higher once the approval comes out. Therefore, I'm going to buy. And essentially, when a stock price goes sideways or a crypto goes sideways, it's telling you that there's an equal, essentially, amount of buyers and sellers. And that's what we have right here. I did want to show you this trend line. It's kind of a cool trend line. If we look at the chart here, just from this low pivot here, right, to these highs right here, and it gives us our exact high up there. So again, just to show you where, you had this amazing move up right there on Bitcoin, it did kind of stall out, but it made sense that it would stall out right there. Now, if we look at what's going on here, is essentially you're creating, and by the way, when you get an equal amount of buyers and sellers, that is called consolidation. And then the big thing is, does the consolidation work out to be a bullish move or a bearish move? And essentially consolidation, an equal amount of buyers and sellers, what does it do? It creates essentially either a channel, a sideways move, right? So a channel would be something like this, right? Two parallel lines, which is kind of what we have here. But I think the closer amount of consolidation here is what we're really seeing is like a wedge pattern, right? You can connect the highs and the lows. And again, in general, when you see this pattern and it's after an up move, what do we call it? It's a flag, right? This is the flagpole right here, and this is your flag. So in general, this would be a bullish pattern, but just a reminder, not every single bullish pattern plays out, right? We know that if you have 100 bull flags, maybe 70% will play out. So that still leaves about 30% to not play out. But if you're a probability person, which is a chart person, you're going to generally go with that angle, all right? So again, we'll continue to watch here and see what we want to see. Does it break up here on the ETF approval? I've said many times that I do think you'll get one final push up on the ETF approval, and then that puts in a short-term top. And let's not forget that in 2021, when the futures ETF launched, that was the high of Bitcoin. And then also when the futures launched in 2017, that was the high. It's all the hype that brings in the expectation of this. Now, you do have the halving coming up in 2024. As of now, when you look at 4-year cycles, it looks like the 4-year cycle is playing out. But again, I said this yesterday on a Spaces I was on, is just be a vigilant investor. Always remember that while it might look like something's playing out, leave the possibility that it doesn't. That will protect you on the downside. The overall heat map for crypto, generally green today. You can see, again, Bitcoin, obviously the big one. Ethereum is also, these are the biggest by market cap. A little bit of chop here. We've seen Solana bounce. Solana yesterday got below 100, I think down to about 97 or so. It's bounced a little bit back here. Avalanche, same kind of thing. Some of these, again, are trading back up. Looking at the S&P 500 as we come into year end, at least on the spiders, we're just below that all-time high, right? Again, it's had an amazing move up. To be honest, I didn't think we would get back here this year, but ultimately we did. And again, it looks like, in my opinion now, we talked about this yesterday in the game plan, it's more than likely will at least pierce, because again, that's the symbol, or that's the way that we've seen the market do over and over again, whether it was Bitcoin, whether it was the stock market back in 2007, or if it was Bitcoin's top in recent history, right? So again, maybe a little bit further upside early in January, and then I'm back on the camp of saying a correction is due. I also think that into year end, a lot of people are not selling on purpose because they don't want to pay taxes, right? They don't want to pay taxes this year. So by that means, you likely will see some selling in 2024 in January. Whether it's the first week or not, I'm not sure, but you will see some sort of corrective move. Now, in today's game plan, I want to look at some other stocks because it's generally quiet. S&P is around the flat line. NASDAQ's around the flat line. I expect another very, very light trading day, but there are some things to look at. Remember yesterday when we looked at the U.S. dollar here, the dollar again had broken down. We've seen a couple days of a bounce. Let me zoom in on this chart here so we can see that. So there's our trend line. Notice again, we've come back just underneath this level. But remember, as long as you're below this level, this now is resistance. So that's going to be the first thing I'm following into the new year. Can the dollar break back up, which is the less probable outcome? Or do we turn back down here and do we continue to head lower on the US dollar? Now, the yields are amazing, folks. We've had such a massive correction on the yields. As we flip over to that chart on the 10-minute, we are at support down here, and it's trying to hold. And again, you can see the RSI down here starting to turn up just a little bit. I don't really see any sort of negative divergences to get my attention on the RSI, but for the most part, we're right here at this level, this kind of major support level right here. And again, that's what we're trying to hold on to here. I do think that the markets have overdone, and this is the way the markets work. Always remember, guys, it swings like a pendulum. So you get kind of too crazy on the fear side, which caused rates to go up over 5%. And then again, now it's swung too far to the other side where people are like, oh, the Fed's going to cut a zillion points or basis points. Everything is going to go free money just like COVID and da, da, da. It's probably realistically, and we know this, or at least we should know this, is that when you hear two sides to the story, what's the reality? It's somewhere in the middle. And that's ultimately the same with the markets. And remember, charts are just representations of you and me and everyone else, our fears and our greed, right? Fear and greed are why we see moves like this and moves down like this. And so it makes sense that fear and greed, if you take the extremes of emotion, where is the center point? It's somewhere right in the middle, and that's what ends up happening here.
Hi, crypto friends. Crypto Street is back with the Christmas gifts, the most mind-blowing crypto scoop to light up your screens like no other. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Let's talk about JP Morgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, making moves with BlackRock. This is one you don't want to miss. JP Morgan, the big financial player, just got a backstage pass with BlackRock, a major investment giant. But here's the kicker. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan's CEO, hasn't exactly been shouting his love for Bitcoin from the rooftops. In fact, he's been throwing shade at crypto, calling it a tool for crime. Talk about a plot twist. What's JP Morgan up to? So BlackRock drops this bomb. JP Morgan and another player called Jane Street are now authorized participants in their Bitcoin ETF game. Quick lesson. An authorized participant can create and redeem shares in an ETF. But hold on, isn't Dimon anti-Bitcoin publicly? Oh, the irony. Is this a crypto plot twist or what? They're throwing serious shade at JP Morgan, questioning if they're cool with all the shady stuff, money laundering, tax evasion, the works, and they're not holding back on social media. Hey, JP Morgan, you told Congress one thing, and now you're cozying up to Bitcoin. What's the deal? The drama is real. Now, here's where it gets wild. JP Morgan, despite being deeply opposed to crypto, dropped his own crypto token, JPM coin, on Ethereum. Talk about playing both sides. They even joined forces with BlackRock on a blockchain platform. Is this a crypto love affair or just a business strategy? Now let's continue our enlightening discussion with Gareth Soloway.
Couple other charts I want to just go over. We still continue to look at this beautiful bigger time frame on silver. And again, I love the big time frames into year end because again, when price action's a little quieter, we just continue to watch. And I think you guys all know by now, just from this game plan alone, what a bull flag is, right? Or a bullish consolidation pattern. And I would just draw your attention, again, all about probabilities. But again, to me, that's a nice little flagpole with a lot of consolidation on the monthly. The monthly chart is the most powerful chart. It's the longest time frame chart. And so again, at some point when this breaks out here, not only should it go back to 30, but I do think it'll stop at 30, obviously, and consolidate, pull back. But eventually, I do think silver goes higher. And by the way, silver, gold, and all of these, if the dollar continues to weaken as well, you're looking at inflation starting to peak back out. And I know everyone, God, the amount of articles being written about a soft landing or no landing and how miraculous the Federal Reserve is, to me, it's like, wow. To me, it's a contrarian indicator, frankly. It is. It just is. I've seen it way too many times in my trading career where everyone's singing, like I said before, kumbaya, right? And then before you know it, oops, we kind of misread that, and then the economy falls off a cliff. And again, I do think that, we've talked about the 100-year cycle. I've talked about that with you guys. Yesterday, we talked about it, about the Great Depression and coming later in this decade. And I don't think that you're going to get that in the next year or two because The Fed has regained credibility, which means that they, in the short term, will be able to protect the downside from major losses, right? They can still cut. And the new normal may be 3% inflation, but eventually that's going to be 4% and 5% and 6%. It's going to get out of control, and they will lose their credibility. It's when they lose credibility and the market no longer trusts them, that is when things will kind of collapse. Quickly taking a look at natural gas before I have to go here and get to the trading floor, guys. Quickly just looking at this, we're still hovering right at that same level. So just a reminder that I've continued to tell you guys, this is your breakout point right here, around 252. Right now we're at 250. Let's see if we get through that. I love the fact that it keeps on hammering on a level. Remember, the more you hammer on a level, the more likely you break it, right? It becomes like a doorway, and eventually you break through it. So as long as we continue to hammer on this area, eventually we should break to the upside on natural gas.
The Indian government has directed the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to bar access to offshore cryptocurrency exchanges deemed illegal within the country. The 9 affected crypto platforms include Binance, KuCoin, Huobi, Kraken, and Bitfinex. The Ministry of Finance also revealed that 31 crypto service providers have registered with the country's Financial Intelligence Unit to date. That wraps up today's crypto news highlights. Stay tuned for more updates, insights, and analysis from the world of cryptocurrencies. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content.